The stars looked calm that night, pretending the galaxy wasn't on fire. Cadet Lyra Keen watched the war reports flicker across the holoscreen in her shuttle. Every channel spoke the same word: predators. They had attacked without warning, ripping through defense lines as if the humans were children playing with old metal toys. Lyra was supposed to be safe in training orbit around E9 station, but safety ended when the alarms screamed. The predator ships arrived like shadows made of lightning, sleek, alive, hunting. Their weapons didn't flash. They whispered and whole squadrons vanished. Lyra's shuttle spun as explosions shook the hull. Her co-pilot's voice cut through the static, yelling for control, then silence. She woke to red lights, drifting alone in space. A beam of blue energy gripped her craft. The computer said it in one flat sentence: boarded by unknown vessel. She reached for her pulse rifle. It was useless comfort. Metal groaned as the airlock opened, and tall creatures stepped in. Their armor was black glass, their eyes like molten gold. One hissed, a sound between laughter and hunger. They didn't speak her language, but she understood perfectly. She was prey. Lyra tried to fight. Training drilled into her bones: aim, fire, move, but the rifle clanged uselessly off their armor. In seconds, she was on her knees, her arms pinned. One alien leaned close, scanning her face, studying the human that dared to resist. Then it pointed to her wrist device, the beacon that connected her to him, Ro, her Wolverine. Her bonded companion since the Academy's survival trials. Ro wasn't just an animal. He was engineered for combat, muscle and fury, shaped into fur and claws. The predators had locked him in a containment field when they captured the shuttle. The alien ripped the beacon off her wrist and crushed it under its boot. Lyra felt the bond tremble, a distant echo of panic and rage. They dragged her through the corridors of the predator ship. The walls pulsed faintly, alive, veins of blue light crawling through metal like blood. The air was cold and wet, carrying a smell of oil and fear. She saw other prisoners, human and alien, kept in transparent cells, eyes hollow, hope long gone. Her cell was small, the floor sticky with condensation. They left her with nothing but silence. But silence didn't last. Somewhere deep in the ship, a roar shook the walls, the kind of sound that froze bones. The guards outside turned their heads, nervous for the first time. Ro had woken. Through the mental bond, weak but alive, she felt him, confused at first, then furious. The containment field had failed for a heartbeat, just enough for instinct to take control. Lyra's heart pounded. She whispered his name even though no one could hear. The predator guards raised their weapons. The roar came again, closer this time. Metal scraped. Alarms wailed. A guard pressed its clawed hand to a panel, calling for reinforcements. The lights flickered. In that moment, Lyra saw her chance. When the power surged, her cell door glitched open halfway. She crawled out, blood rushing loud in her ears. Her fingers found a fallen shock rod. She didn't know how to use it, but she didn't need to. She just needed to move. Down the corridor she ran, barefoot, heart burning, guided by that strange, invisible pull toward her companion. She passed wrecked doors, shredded armor, the remains of predator drones. The air carried the copper scent of blood and fur. Then she saw him. Ro filled the hallway like a storm given shape. His fur was streaked with light from broken conduits, his claws tearing metal as if it were cloth. He turned when he sensed her, yellow eyes softening for one heartbeat before another squad appeared behind him. Lyra didn't hesitate. She stepped beside him, shock rod ready, trembling but unbroken. The predators hesitated too, realizing too late what they had unleashed. The bond between them surged alive, electric and wild. Ro roared again, and Lyra charged with him. The corridor vanished into chaos. The predator ship had captured a cadet, but it had awakened something worse. Smoke coiled through the corridors like ghosts, whispering the aftermath of chaos. The predator ship, once silent and cold, now shook with the rhythm of roars, screams, and metal being torn apart. Lyra moved beside Ro, the enormous Wolverine snarling at every flicker of motion. His fur was streaked with black blood, his claws dripping from battles already fought. The glow of emergency lights painted everything in red pulses, as if the ship itself was bleeding. The cadet's breathing came sharp and fast, but her eyes burned steady. She had been trained to follow orders, to think before acting. Now instinct ruled her. The predators had taken her freedom and tried to cage her partner. That mistake would cost them everything. A predator stepped out ahead, blocking the corridor. Its armor was cracked, its weapon smoking. It barked something in its guttural language. Ro answered with a roar that made the walls tremble. The alien raised its blaster, too slow. Lyra grabbed a fallen blade, small but sharp, and flung it. The weapon hit the alien's visor, sparks bursting across its face. Ro lunged through the smoke and finished it with a swipe that sent armor plates skittering across the floor. Lyra looked away, not from fear, but from the raw animal violence that came from her bonded beast. "Easy," she whispered. Ro stopped, breathing heavy, watching her for command. The bond pulsed warm between them. Even here, surrounded by death, they understood each other. Through broken panels, she glimpsed the stars outside, the endless dark sea that humanity had tried to tame. Somewhere out there, her Academy fleet was fighting, probably believing she was already dead. "Let's prove them wrong," she muttered. The Predator ship groaned as it shifted direction. The lights flickered again, switching from red to a sickly green. Overhead, metallic tendrils crawled out from the ceiling, alive, repairing the ship's wounds. This vessel wasn't just a machine, it was a living predator, too. Lyra found a control node half melted into the wall. Her training kicked in. She pried open the panel and started pressing at the alien runes. Most didn't respond. Then she found one symbol that pulsed faintly blue. Communications. Ro stayed alert, head tilting as he caught movement down the hall. The sound of claws and boots echoed. They were coming again. Lyra didn't have long. She hit the blue rune, and static filled the air. A holographic screen blinked on, showing a Predator commander, a towering figure with 4 glowing eyes. It tilted its head when it saw her. The voice came through, distorted but understandable enough. "Human Cadet. You live longer than expected." Lyra's grip tightened on the console. "You made a mistake bringing me here," the alien hissed softly, almost amused. "You are food. Your creature is chaos. We will study both before you die." Behind her, Ro growled low, hearing the tone if not the words. His claws scraped metal. Lyra's pulse pounded. She smiled, a small, dangerous smile. "You can try." Before the commander could respond, she jammed the shock rod into the console. The surge exploded through the system. The hologram shattered, sparks flying across the hall. The ship screamed, a deep vibration that rolled through every wall. Lights burst. Doors slammed open. Ro howled with it, his voice blending with the ship's agony. The sound carried across the decks, striking fear into every predator that heard it. Lyra stumbled back, smoke curling around her armor. "We're not dying here," she said, her voice steady even as alarms blared. Ro nudged her gently with his head, a silent answer. The bond glowed bright enough to burn through the static in her mind. She felt his strength flood into her, wild, primal, unstoppable. As the ship's systems began to collapse, Lyra turned toward the deeper corridors. Somewhere in the core, the control chamber waited. If she could reach it, she could take the whole ship, or destroy it, trying. Behind them, the Predator reinforcements appeared again. Dozens of them, armed and ready. Their armor glimmered like black ice. Lyra smiled faintly. "Ro, let's show them what human rage looks like," the Wolverine bared his teeth. Then they charged, human and beast, one heartbeat, one fury, and in that moment the war inside the Predator ship truly began. The Predator ship howled like a dying animal, lights stuttering as its systems struggled to contain the chaos Lyra and Ro had unleashed. Every corridor flickered between green and red, alarms screaming in an alien tone that sounded like panic. The metallic smell of ozone mixed with burnt circuits and blood. Lyra darted through the smoke-filled halls, Ro padding beside her like a moving shadow. His fur shimmered with static energy, every muscle coiled for violence. Behind them, The heavy thud of armored boots echoed, Predator reinforcements closing in fast. They rounded a corner just as a barrage of plasma fire hissed past, scorching the walls. Lyra dove into cover, her armor scraping metal. Ro leapt through the haze, his roar splitting the air. The first Predator didn't even scream before Ro's claws tore through its armor like paper. Another tried to aim, too late. The beast ripped the blaster from its hands and crushed it, sparks lighting his face like fireflies. Lyra moved fast, scooping up the fallen alien's weapon. It hummed in her grip, the trigger unfamiliar but intuitive. She aimed and fired. A bolt of blue energy cracked into the corridor, slamming another Predator back into the wall. It slid down, lifeless. For the first time since her capture, she felt control. Real control. The bond between her and Ro pulsed stronger now, alive, connected, humming in her skull. She didn't need to speak for him to understand. Every time she turned, he moved with her, anticipating, defending. The perfect soldier, the perfect companion. But the ship wasn't done fighting. The floor trembled beneath them. Metal plates shifted, walls sealing off escape routes. Lyra skidded to a halt as a barricade slammed down ahead. She looked for another way, then saw a glowing vent shaft above. "Ro, boost me!" He crouched low, muscles bunching. She climbed onto his back, grabbed the edge, and hauled herself through. Ro followed in one impossible leap, claws digging into the steel. They crawled through narrow tunnels humming with energy, the air thick with heat. She spoke softly as they moved. "They built this ship to trap enemies. But we're not enemies anymore. We're a problem." A rumble of approval came from Ro's chest, vibrating through the metal beneath them. The tunnel opened into a wide chamber, the ship's energy core. Blue light pulsed in massive columns, feeding power through veins of living circuitry. Lyra could feel the hum of it in her bones. She stepped forward, realizing this was the ship's heart. If she could take it, she could end this. Ro sniffed the air, ears twitching. Lyra followed his gaze. Across the platform stood the Predator commander she had seen earlier, alive and waiting. Its armor shimmered with a strange liquid sheen, adaptive, intelligent. Two smaller Predators flanked it, armed with crackling whips. "So," the commander said in a voice made of static and steel, "the prey finds its way to the heart." Lyra's jaw tightened. "You think you're hunters? You think you understand what we are?" The commander tilted its head. "We understand enough. You fight because you fear extinction. We fight because it is pleasure." The words twisted something deep inside her. "Not fear, rage," Ro growled, a deep animal warning. The Predators raised their weapons. The commander gave the faintest nod, and the whips cracked. Lyra dodged one, the electric coil slicing the air where her head had been. Ro charged the second attacker, claws flashing. Sparks and blood burst together as he tore through armor and flesh. The commander moved fast, inhumanly fast, swiping a blade toward Lyra's chest. She blocked with the alien blaster, metal screaming against metal. They circled, light flickering across their faces. The hum of the core grew louder, reacting to their movement like it could feel the violence. "You can't win!" the commander hissed. "Your body will fail. The beast will die," Lyra smirked, despite the sweat and pain. "You don't know humans very well." Then she shouted through the bond, "Now!" Ro slammed into the commander from the side, claws sinking deep. Lyra jammed the blaster into a control conduit and fired. The energy core erupted in white light. The explosion tore across the chamber, throwing them all backward. Lyra hit the floor hard, dazed. Through the ringing in her ears, she heard the ship groaning again, metal bending under pressure. The commander was gone, thrown into the plasma coils, armor melting into slag. Ro limped toward her, blood dripping from his claws. He pressed his head against her shoulder. "It's okay," she whispered. "We're still alive." Above them, the ship lights flickered erratically. Warning tones shifted into a low, mournful hum, the kind of sound a dying creature makes. The Predator ship had lost its commander. Its systems were collapsing. And now every alien aboard knew exactly who was responsible. Lyra stood, gripping her weapon. Ro's eyes glowed faintly in the pulsing blue light. She didn't plan to run anymore. It was time to finish what they started. The Predator ship drifted through the void like a wounded animal, its engines coughing bursts of blue flame. Inside, the lights flickered and dimmed as gravity shifted. Panels sparked. Alarms wailed in that strange alien rhythm that no longer sounded menacing, only desperate. Lyra steadied herself against the wall. Her armor was cracked, her pulse loud in her ears. Ro limped slightly beside her, blood staining his thick fur. Yet his eyes still burned like twin suns, fierce and unbroken. They had fought their way through death itself, and now the ship itself seemed afraid of them. She pressed her hand to the wall's surface. The metal pulsed faintly under her touch. The vessel was alive in some twisted way, responding to commands from a dead master. Without the commander, its systems were confused, feral, lashing out in every direction. She could use that. Ro, she whispered. We end this. He gave a low growl, as if agreeing with her words more than understanding them. The bond between them flared, warm, strong, unshakable. They moved deeper toward the command deck. The hallways looked like broken veins, full of steam and shattered conduits. Predator soldiers waited at every turn, but their discipline was gone. They fired wildly, shouting in panic. Lyra used their chaos against them, sliding between shadows, firing precise bursts of plasma. Each shot found its mark. Ro followed like a living storm. When a predator tried to flank her, the beast came out of nowhere, claws flashing in a blur of motion. One by one, the soldiers fell, leaving trails of smoke and shattered armor. Still, more kept coming. The ship was huge, crawling with the enemy. Lyra's breath quickened. She could feel exhaustion pulling at her body. She wasn't built for endless combat, but every time she felt her strength fading, she sensed Ro's energy flood through the bond. The two of them were no longer separate. Their anger, their fear, even their heartbeat, it was one rhythm. They reached a massive blast door at the end of the corridor. Strange runes glowed faintly across it, shifting like living ink. Lyra aimed her weapon and fired. The door shuddered but didn't break. She frowned. Manual override it is. She placed her hand on the alien control pad. The runes flashed red, resisting her touch. Come on, she hissed. You're dying anyway, Ro snarled, impatient. He slammed his claws into the door, digging deep. Metal screamed. Sparks burst. He tore a line through the surface, and the door finally gave in with a thunderous crack. The command deck opened before them, a circular room filled with light and smoke. Holographic displays floated above strange organic consoles. Through the giant window beyond, the stars burned cold and distant. And there, at the center, stood the last of the commanders. Taller than the others, wearing armor etched with gold. Its gaze met hers, full of hatred and disbelief. So this is the human animal, it rasped. The prey that devours its hunters. Lyra stepped forward, weapon raised. You wanted to study humanity. Consider this your final lesson. The alien moved with terrifying speed, leaping across the room, energy blade flashing. Lyra barely blocked the strike. Sparks exploded between them. Ro lunged, forcing the commander back, claws clashing with metal. The alien countered with precision, slicing across Ro's shoulder. The beast roared in pain, but instead of retreating, he surged forward, grabbing the predator and slamming it into the wall hard enough to dent the metal. The commander kicked free and spun, blade slicing toward Lyra. She ducked, rolled, and fired point blank. The bolt hit its chest, searing through armor. The alien staggered but didn't fall. You can't win! It screamed, lunging again. Lyra sidestepped, letting its momentum carry it forward, straight into Ro's waiting claws. The Wolverine caught it mid-strike, teeth finding the exposed joint of its neck. The sound that followed was not a roar, not a scream, just silence. The commander's body dropped to the floor. For a moment, there was only the hum of the failing ship. Lyra lowered her weapon, chest heaving. Ro stood beside her, bleeding but alive. The command deck lights flickered one final time. Across the consoles, alien symbols began flashing rapidly. She recognized the sequence. Self-destruct. Of course, she muttered. They'd rather die than surrender. The countdown started. Numbers she couldn't read, but instinct told her what they meant. Minutes. She ran to the controls, trying to override the system. The interface pulsed under her hands, rejecting human touch. Come on, come on! Ro pressed close behind her, watching the flames build in the engine core through the window. The ship trembled again, power surging through its frame. Lyra exhaled sharply. Fine, if we can't stop it, we steer it. She slammed her hands down on the navigation runes, forcing her will into the system. The ship resisted. Then slowly, it yielded. The massive hull began to turn, shifting direction toward the Predator fleet still, attacking the human forces far away. She looked at Ro. We're taking them with us, he growled in agreement. Stars outside twisted as the ship angled toward the battlefront. Flames licked through the corridors. The alarms reached a fever pitch. Lyra stood tall in the flickering light, smoke swirling around her. Let's make it count, Ro roared, a sound that echoed through the dying ship, half fury, half triumph. And as the Predator ship surged forward, a single human and her Wolverine turned a death trap into a weapon. The Predator ship howled as it cut through space, a burning wound against the stars. Its engines flared wild and unstable, streaking blue fire in every direction. Inside, gravity twisted and pulsed. Entire decks folded in on themselves as the vessel accelerated far beyond safe limits. Lyra gripped the main console, muscles trembling with the effort to hold the ship steady. The navigation screen flickered between alien symbols and static. Every second, the Predator vessel tore through the void, drawing closer to the rest of the Predator fleet, massive ships waiting like dark gods among the stars. Ro paced beside her, claws scraping the deck, golden eyes glowing in the chaos. The beast's fur bristled with the crackling energy that filled the air. He was bleeding, breathing hard, but he didn't falter. Every time the ship shook, he moved closer to her, as if to shield her from the universe itself. This is it, Lyra muttered. They wanted a war. Let's give them one they'll never forget. The bond between her and Ro pulsed with strange calm, like two storms that had decided at last to move as one. On the main screen, the Predator fleet came into view. Dozens of warships turned in perfect formation, weapons igniting. Their massive cannons aimed straight at the ship Lyra now controlled. To them it was an empty husk, a vessel returning from victory. They didn't yet realize the truth. Lyra smiled faintly. They have no idea. The communication array flared to life, static hissing through. A Predator voice broke through in its jagged language, demanding identification. Lyra pressed a button, sending back the only message she could, a live visual feed. The commander on the other end saw her, bloodied, defiant, standing on their ship's bridge with a Wolverine the size of a small tank beside her. His golden eyes widened. The feed cut. Lyra laughed once, low and tired. Guess that's universal for we're doomed. The Predator fleet opened fire. Blue plasma bolts streaked through the dark, striking their own vessel. The ship shuddered, metal shrieking, hull fracturing. Panels exploded around her. Ro roared, covering her as shards of glass and steel rained down. We can't take many more hits, she gasped. Almost there. Through the haze of fire, the largest Predator dreadnought loomed ahead. 20 times the size of hers, bristling with weapons. Its engines burned cold and bright, the flagship of the entire invasion. Lyra's hands flew over the controls, locking the course. The Predator ship under her command groaned, fighting against the override as if alive and terrified. She whispered, "You started this war. You don't get to finish it." The dreadnought's weapons powered up again. The deck beneath her feet cracked. Flames poured from the ceiling. "Ro," she said quietly, turning to him, "if we do this right, there won't be anything left." The Wolverine's head tilted. Through their bond, she felt him understand, not the words, but the meaning. He stepped forward and pressed his forehead against her shoulder, his heartbeat steady, fierce. "I'm not leaving you," she said softly. "Not ever." Then the console blinked, a final warning. Impact countdown, 20 seconds. The Predator fleet was in chaos now. Smaller ships scattered, trying to evade. The dreadnought stayed still, massive and proud, confident its shields could withstand anything. It was wrong. Lyra gripped the controls, her voice low and certain. For Earth, for every human they thought was weak. The engines screamed. The stars blurred. Ro roared, a sound that cut through the void, through the dying ship, through the silence of the galaxy. The Predator ship slammed forward like a comet, tearing through enemy fire. And then, impact. White light swallowed everything. The explosion rippled across space like a newborn sun. One ship became a storm of fire, then a chain reaction of destruction as the Predator fleet detonated in sequence. Thousands of kilometers of debris scattered into the void, glowing like dying stars. For a moment, the universe was quiet. And then across human channels light years away, the sensors caught it. A massive energy signature, Predator fleet gone. One human signature lost with them. The message spread fast. Through every ship and every colony, a cadet and her beast turned the tide. In that silence, humanity realized something ancient had awakened within them again. The universe would remember. Silence. Not the soft kind, not peace. The heavy silence that follows something too powerful to forget. The debris of the Predator fleet drifted through the void, glowing faintly as the last embers of plasma died out. The stars looked the same, cold, eternal, but the galaxy had changed. The Predators who had ruled through fear for centuries were gone. In their place, a single name began to spread across every frequency. Cadet Lyra Keen. At first, no one believed it. How could one human and one creature destroy an entire fleet? But the wreckage told the story. Fragments of Predator ships floated in perfect ruin, torn apart from within. Energy readings showed the impossible. A single vessel had ignited the chain reaction. And in the center of that explosion, two signals had burned brighter than anything else before fading completely, Lyra and Ro. The human fleet recovered what little remained. Among the debris, a small escape pod drifted, blackened by fire but intact. Inside lay Lyra's academy insignia, half melted, still carrying her name. The Wolverine's tag was fused beside it. Someone, somewhere, had sealed that pod just before the end. Whether by chance or by will, no one could say. News spread faster than light. On every colony world, people whispered the story. How a cadet, not a general, had ended the war. How she fought not for orders but for loyalty. How her beast, once thought a mere weapon, became the soul of her fury. Children began calling their pets Ro. Fleet cadets carved her name into the walls of their barracks. On Earth, a monument was built, not of polished stone or gold, but steel salvaged from Predator wrecks. At its center stood two figures, a young woman with her hand resting on the head of a great Wolverine, both looking toward the stars. Beneath them, a single line was carved. Never corner a human who still has something to protect. Years passed. The Predator species never returned. Their empire fractured, their worlds turned silent, haunted by fear of the race they once hunted. In the far corners of the galaxy, other civilizations took note. Treaties changed. Plans were rewritten. And when someone whispered the word human, even the boldest of warriors paused. In the archives of the Galactic Council, one recording survived, an audio fragment from the final minutes aboard the Predator ship. Static, then a faint human voice, tired but calm. We're not prey. We're the storm you wake when you forget what mercy is. And then, the sound of a roar. It played every year during the Remembrance broadcast, the galaxy falling silent as those words echoed through space. Somewhere beyond those stars, maybe in some quiet afterlife humans would never understand, a cadet and her Wolverine still walk side by side, unbroken, unafraid. And if you listened close enough to the static between the stars, you could almost hear it again, the growl of Ro, the heartbeat of Lyra, and the whisper of the galaxy that learned too late what it meant to provoke humanity.